Good morning everybody, or should I say good morgen, as we are doing a German tank review today. This is on the KV-1B 756R. This is likely to be my last video for a few days as I'm going away for the weekend. Either today or tomorrow, I'm not entirely sure yet, but we'll get to that. Either way, I won't be doing another video this weekend. So, I figured I'd do a tank review video as they seem to be reasonably popular and I rather enjoy doing them. So, let's start, shall we? The KV-1B, which I'm going to be referring to it as such for the rest of the video because it's too long-winded otherwise, is a rank 3 battle rating 5.0 German heavy tank premium. I've said in the past that the M26E1 was my first premium tank. Though that's true, this is my first premium tank for the Germans. So let's have a look at the stat card first and we'll go from there. You get a 75mm KWK 40 L48 gun, same gun as you get on the Panther I believe, and a 7.92 MG34 in the coaxial, a turret rotation speed of 9.1 degrees per second, minus 6 degrees of gun depression and 25 degrees of gun elevation, and a 6.9 second reload rate on my current crew level, which you can see at the top there. Hull armour is 100mm at the front, 75 at the side, 70 at the rear. Turret armour is 105 at the front and sides and rear. Armour penetration we'll get into in a minute. 47.5 tons with an engine power of 550 horsepower at 2000 RPM. Max speed of 41 km an hour. This tank will do 41 km an hour. It's reasonably mobile for what it is and the traverse is quite good. Maximum inclination of 37 degrees. Max repair cost of 2,380 lions, which is very cheap. And the research reward is 296% XP, which is 1.48 times 100 plus 100. And the reward for lions is 260%, which is 1.3 times 2 times 100. So let's have a look at the modifications. There are 4 different types of shell for this tank. The Panzergranat 39s, which is APC-BC, Heat, Panzergranat 40s, which is APCR, and HE, which is utterly useless. So the Panzergranat 39s. You get 135mm of penetration at 100 meters, dropping off to 86mm of penetration at 2000 meters. The Heat shell is 80mm of penetration at any range, so long as it's on a 90-degree angle. And the APCR is 176mm of penetration at 100 meters, falling to 92mm of penetration at 2000 meters. This is not excellent, but it's more than useful given the tier that this thing plays at and the tanks that it can fight. So let's have a look at the armour and the layout before we get into the gameplay. So, as you would imagine, this tank is not so much based on the KV-1 as it actually is a KV-1 hull, although the Germans slapped a piece of 25mm armour onto the front of the upper plate. The upper plate itself, if I can get the mouse to work with me here, come on, there we go, being 75mm thick, meaning that the frontal plate is equal to 100mm. This is the same as the Tiger 1, which is 0.7 of a battle rating higher. The upper frontal plate is 40mm thick, sloped back at a 72-degree angle, giving you roughly 90mm of armour. The lower plate is actually made up of 2 armour pieces. The lower plate is 75mm, but the upper plate is 25mm, once again, meaning that you have 100mm of armour on this section here, but only 75 on the bottom, although the angle is increased, meaning that it's roughly, right at the bottom, 170mm thick. Quite impressive for the battle rating. The front of the turret is sloped and angled reasonably well, with this section here being 105mm thick at an 11-degree angle. Roughly flat on, you're talking at around 110, 150mm thick. The gun mantlet itself is only 50mm thick. This is one of the weak spots on this tank. So, yeah, if you have to shoot at this thing from the front, if you can't penetrate the upper frontal plate, or the lower plate, aim for the front of the turret, beside the gun. This is quite a small target to hit at long range, so I would only recommend shooting at this at a short distance. The turret itself, as I mentioned on the stat card, is 105mm thick all the way around. This of course does count for the angling as well, so if you were to hit here, that's an automatic bounce zone. This is 225mm thick should you hit the turret here. You get the idea. So the side armour, 75mm thick, with the tracks acting as 30mm of spaced armour. Quite helpful for if anyone happens to shoot heat at you, although I don't see that being too often of an occurrence. 60mm on the rear, 70 on the bottom half of the rear, with the lower plate on the rear being 70mm angled at 45 degrees. So the internals. We have ammo racks stored in the turret, as you would expect, although the majority of the ammo is stored right in the lower end of the tank, with some of the ammo being beside the machine gunner. The driver, sorry. The driver and the machine gunner are sat right next to one another. The machine gunner doesn't actually do anything as far as gameplay is concerned, although he does serve to absorb shells and shrapnel. 3 of the crew members, the commander, the gunner and the loader, are all cramped into the turret. This is not unusual of any tank in the game, really. Most tanks have their crew set up like this, unless they have less crew or more, or the turret's bigger. Engine and transmission in the rear. This would be unusual for a German tank, but as this is a captured Soviet tank, it's more or less understandable. The Russians were more of a fan of putting the transmissions in the rear. So that's about it, really. As for price, I think I paid around 6,000 Lion Eagles, sorry, for this tank when I got it. As far as I know, it's still on sale. You don't see them very much anymore. They're quite unusual and uncommon, which I think adds to this tank's charm. So that's that for the Garage X section of this review. I will see you all in the gameplay. I managed to get actually a really good game on my first try, which speaks wonders to this tank, as I haven't driven it in a long time. So thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, share and subscribe. It really does help out the channel. Or dislike if you don't, that's fine as well. And I will see you all on my next video. Cheers! Hello everybody and welcome to the gameplay. For this game, we're on the jungle map. This is, I think this was a moderate up tier if I remember correctly. So, the KV-1. This is 3 minutes into the game and I've just managed to get across the bridge. I know I said that the vehicle will do 41 kilometers an hour. I should have said, yeah, it can, but that's going downhill, going in an incline or on the level. On good terrain, 30 kilometers an hour is, I'd say, average, but this can vary depending on where you're driving and what sort of terrain you're driving on. So there's only one capture zone in this map, which is up at the north. I thought I'd try and not so much flank in my heavy tank, because let's face it, that's not really what it's good at, but to come around and get shots into the sides of enemy vehicles. The KV-2's this. One shot into the rear of the turret, ammo rack. Thank you very much, Panzergranat 39 shells. As I've said before, I prefer lower penetration shells that have an armor piercing high explosive filler, purely because if you penetrate you're more likely to do more damage. It's a hell of a lot better than using standard like APCR shells or Sabo shells that is effectively just pin pricking the enemy until they die. Something shot at me from behind that rock, so I've angled myself to look. The way I drive this tank is very similar to the way I drive my Tiger 2s, and to a lesser extent my Tiger 1, angling the hull in a diamond position and turning the turret away when you're not ready to shoot at them. This stops the exposure of your 50mm of armor on the gun mantlet toward the enemy, and lessens the chance that they'll be able to take out your gunner, your loader and your commander. So I'm rushing up toward the ridgeline here. I'm not so concerned about the tank behind that rock anymore. I figured, what the hell, if he was going to kill me, he had killed me already, so... And I did have a tank behind me and near me at the time that could have taken him out should they've had the opportunity. Sherman at long range, I'm not entirely sure what sort of Sherman that is. Roughly 400 meters, one shot straight through the side. Deletes him. Back to the hangar with you, you go. I selected this gameplay mainly because, though it does show the effectiveness of the gun, it also shows this tank's ability to take hits and keep fighting. It's very much a KV in this regard, and you know how much I love my KVs. especially the KV-1 with the ZIS-5. Can't get enough of that thing. Which is why mine has a talisman on it. Pretty good for low tier grinding. So there's something, it's an SPAA, I can't tell exactly what it is, I think it's one of the Russian trucks, behind this hill. I can't quite get the gun down enough to shoot at him, but at the same time he can't shoot at me either. So I'm just spraying with my machine gun, get a shell in, take out most of the turret crew. All of them in fact. Reloads in. Shrapnel finishes off his tank. Repairs up, tracks repaired. Keep driving forward. I like to think that the way I played in this match, getting around the side and covering the cap so that our team could push up and take the cap, was needed for our victory. Of course, that'd be me being incredibly big-headed. That isn't necessarily the case, but I think I was one of the main factors in doing so. The Orange Doom has recently said that he believes the top 3 players of a match are the ones that win or lose the match for their team. Another Sherman shooting at me. He's already penetrated me once and taken out my gunner, although I still have 4 of my 6 crew remaining. 5 crew, sorry, I've only lost 1 crew member. Which means the bow machine gunner has replaced the gunner, which is perfectly fine. I didn't need the bow machine gunner anyway. Can't quite see the Sherman through the smoke, but I'm going to continue to keep putting shells in that direction until I hit something. We've got aircraft coming in, we've got tanks shooting at us from several different directions. Sherman just got ammo racked down there. I didn't see that at the time, which is why I kept shooting. But he's gone. He's dead. His tank's been knocked out, so he's no longer a threat. You notice that this entire time, whenever I'm looking in that direction, I'm either driving forward at an angle or reversing at an angle. I'm not rotating my hull to expose more of my armor to them. Tank just got taken out behind me, see there by the back smoke, so I'm going to investigate. Our Panzer there doing a fantastic job of defending himself, but he marks the target in front of me. Looks like a ZSU or some sort of SPAA. No, it's an M19. One shot, takes out his engine block and kills his entire turret crew. Takes out my track, that's perfectly fine. I'm reasonably safe here, so I'll start repairing now. Always being vigilant and keeping an eye out. Something's just taken out our Panzer. 7 seconds on the repair and we've got a Sherman coming straight towards us. I should have angled the turret armor here, but luckily he bounces anyway. Tracks repaired. Drive forward, angle my hull, angle my turret. He bounces again. I just need to get the gun depression. Take a shot, angle my turret again, keeping the hull angled. Well, maybe I've angled it too much, but he bounces again. Get my track taken out. Kill the Sherman just as the match ends. Second place on the team, ace match, 5 kills. So let's see how we did for credits and XP, shall we? So we got a battle trophy for this match. That's great. Always happy to earn more credits. I really need them at the moment. Second place on the team. 1200 experience and nearly 30,000 lines. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all on the next.